of the Youth Innovation Table. On the call, we also have my right hand, our Vice President Miriam. Isabel is on the call, our Communications Director. Grace is on the call. She's our Director in California. And I see Julianne on the call, and she's our Secretary. So shout out to our amazing leadership team. We're excited for a great Youth Innovation Table panel discussion today. We have some amazing speakers from colleges and universities across the state of Florida. So let's get started. Miriam, if you can go to the next slide, please. Awesome. So as everybody knows, our founder is Mayor Scott Brook. He is the mayor of Coral Springs, Florida, and we love to give him a shout out at the beginning for everything that he does to support us, and he's our biggest mentor and supporter, so I always like to give him a thank you in the beginning. I'm going to hand it over to Miriam. She's going to introduce our leadership team and ways to get involved.
Thank you, Sanan. So as you guys can see on the screen, this is our leadership team. So we have our wonderful president, Sanan. We have me, the vice president. We have our two communications directors, Bailey and Isabel. We have our director of the YIT in California, Grace. And we have our secretary, Julianne. And then I just wanted to quickly talk about a few areas of involvement for any youth who wants to get involved more with the Youth Innovation Table. You can work with marketing and outreach, member retention and recruitment, and in the fundraising aspect. So just reach out to us. And then Sanan, if you wanted to talk about sponsorships.
I'm actually going to hand it over to Jacob Nagofsky, who's our fundraising chair, who's going to talk a little bit about sponsorships.
Thank you, Sanan. So here are our sponsorship tiers. So if you have any parents or have any connections of people who work at any companies, please contact me or Sanan. And we're actually trying to collect funds for a scholarship currently. So if you know anyone, please let us know. That would be great.
Thank you, Jacob. All right, so we have an amazing group of panelists, which I'm so excited to introduce in just in a moment. But before that, we're going to have a Q&A session after the speakers get to introduce themselves and talk about what they've been working on, what they study, what they've been up to. And the way that that'll work is that if you go to the participants icon, you'll see the raise hand function. That'll let us know that you have a comment or a question. We also have the chat feature. You're more than welcome to use that to engage, to ask questions, to further the discussion, anything else that you want to share. And that'll be the way that we'll go about that. And then I think after that, we go on to the session, right, Miriam? We start today's session?
Yes.
All right, great. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speakers and ask them to say a few words about anything further that they want to add. Tell us a little bit about what they've been doing, about their university, and just give a little bit of an introduction as to who they are. And so I'm going to start with Katrina White, who goes to the University of Florida. Katrina, if you want to start out by giving a little bit of an introduction and opening remarks, go right ahead.
Thank you so much, Sanon. For everyone who doesn't know me, I'm Katrina White. I'm a sophomore public relations major at the University of Florida. I got here almost 2 years ago, right when COVID was at its peak. So, of course, it was a rough adjustment, but I really love it here now. I've made a lot of great friends. I've joined a lot of organizations, both within the communications industry field and outside of it. And I'm really excited to meet with you all today.
Great. Thank you so much, Katrina, for joining us. Next, let's go with Fallon. Fallon goes to Florida State University, and we're so happy to have you join us, Fallon. You want to say a few introductory remarks?
Hello. I go to Florida State University, and I'm a sophomore, and my major is nursing. I really love FSU. I love the campus with all the brick and the trees, and I always say it's like the closest you can get to out of state while paying in-state tuition, which I love. Like, it gets cold here and everything. And also, I just love the people. I think they're really welcoming, and same with the professors. I feel like they just really care about the students a lot. And I'm involved in Charge, which is like a workout club. is basically the version club. So that has a lot of cool community service events. And then I'm also joining Hearts for the Homeless, which is where you get to go out and take the blood pressures of homeless people. And it just helps them to regulate their health better, which I think is really cool.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And those are some great different areas for us to talk about further and things that you're involved in. So thank you for sharing. How about Abdul? Abdul Memoun, he's next. He's from the University of Central Florida. Abdul, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Abdul Memin. I'm a computer engineering major at UCF. Everything here is awesome. UCF is kind of like its own little city in the middle of Orlando. It's great. Everything is super diverse. All kinds of people here. I've recently just started getting involved in a club known as IEEE. It's the Institute of Electronics and Electrical Engineers. And just next weekend, we're actually going out and building our own audio amplifiers as a workshop. And there's a lot of really cool stuff like that you can do here.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. I love how we're getting these diverse perspectives from not only different schools, but also different backgrounds and things that you're interested in or doing or studying. That's great. How about Jaylene? You're next from Florida Atlantic University.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm Jaylene Kennedy. I am a senior at Florida Atlantic University Wilkes Honors College in Jupiter. I'm studying political science with a minor in history. I am currently one of the senators of our university, and Florida Atlantic is unique in its own way because of our student government setup. We have 3 campuses, therefore we have 3 different groups of people to represent. So our student government is run a little bit different compared to the other student governments that exist in the Florida State University system. So I represent the Jupiter campus in the university position as a senator. And next week, we'll be going to lobby in the Florida State Capitol for FAU. So it's called FAU Day. We're also participating in Rally for Tally with a couple of your universities as well, where we're gonna go rally and tally for bright futures. So that is our plan within the next week. And I just recently accepted a position with Amazon, working as a recruiter for them in their headquarters. So utilizing, and I actually did an internship with them over the summer. And the way I found that was through my university's Handshake Career Center tool, which I think a couple other universities use as well. And I know that a lot of people don't usually look at Handshake, but I secured an internship with one of, if not the largest tech companies or companies in the world. So definitely I would recommend utilizing your school's resources. Even if they aren't advertised as much, I would definitely go and do the digging yourself because you can find a lot of opportunities. So yeah, it's great to meet you all. And I hope you guys choose to go to Florida Atlantic because go Owls.
That's incredible, Jaylene. Thanks so much for sharing. And it looks like you definitely took advantage of a lot of opportunities from the school that you chose. So thank you so much. How about last but not least, friend Jose from Florida International University. Jose?
Wow, how could you put me after that, Sanan? Sanan, I mean, I thought we were good friends, but I'll try my best. So my name's Jose. I go to Florida International University. I am a very proud freshman. I am a history major, so very excited because I've just always loved history. I love getting involved with what they have on campus. I am a CKI, which is Circle K member at FIU, which is like Key Club, but for college. And I'm actually one of their RSOs, which is kind of like their representative for the college. I am also part of PAD, which is Phi Alpha Delta Pre-Law Fraternity. Very excited to be a part of that. Within the community of Miami and Broward as well, I am also the volunteer coordinator for Raymond Adderley for school board for Broward County, as well as the communications fellow for Sarah Leonardi, who is a District 3 board member for Broward County Public Schools. So, staying in Miami and Broward allows me to do a lot of different work, not just on campus, but off campus, but really enjoying the diversity of the campus, as well as just the amazing faculty and staff, and really the food. I have to say, I love the food. I don't know, they have a lot of different options. I think that's one of the reasons that keeps me there every day, but it's just a really great campus.
Yeah, I have to tell you, Jose, the number one priority I'm looking for is the food. If the food isn't good, then it's not worth it, right?
And the Pincho burger we have, I'm telling you, you should just come to FIU, Sanan.
I love it. I love it. All right, great. Thank you, everybody, for introducing yourselves and the schools that you're attending. We're super excited to have a great discussion. We're definitely going to open it up to everybody to ask questions and collaborate and have a discussion. Just to kind of get things moving, I have one or two questions to go through the panel for each of you to address briefly. The first question, which is prevalent most in our program, is explain the transition that you went through from high school to college or university, and kind of go through the differences and the things that are important to prepare for. So this time I'm going to go in backwards order. I'm going to ask that each of the panelists speaks briefly about this so that we can get to lots of questions from those who are in attendance today. So Jose, this time you get to go first, and then we'll work our way backwards.
Okay, and I'll try, because I don't think I've ever spoken briefly in my life. But I think the transition from high school to college really depends on what you did in high school. If you did a lot, if you took a lot of APs, if you were really involved with clubs, if you really participated, then it's not that hard. Yeah, it is more difficult. I think one of the different things is the structure, how much free time you have and how much work you have to do outside and how you have to balance your time. But I think if you really put a lot into high school, it is a transition, but it's not a difficult one. But if you really didn't do a lot in high school, if you were kind of just someone who floated by, then I think it is something of like shell shock.
All right, great. Thank you, Jose. Jaylene, you're next.
Could you repeat the question one more time? Sorry.
Sure, absolutely. So we're talking about the transition from high school to college or university.
Definitely. I would completely recommend dual enrollment over anything else, because you're getting actual college credits. AP, you get college credits as well, but it's only within, you passing the exam at the end of the year. I think being in dual enrollment is something that not many people know about, and it's really important because you're actually going to the university or community college or state college themselves and taking the class, involved in actually being in person or online with a university professor. And then also just getting involved, as Jose mentioned. I think being involved is one of the most important things, because not only is it good for your resume, but it's good for experience when you've done internships and been involved in different types of organizations. You have more experience and more knowledge in an area of being a leader, or just knowing more things than what school or high school teaches you.
That's great. Thank you, Jaylene. Next, if I'm not mistaken, Abdul, you're next.
Yep. So my biggest thing was, especially for moving away from home, is having roommates is one of the biggest thing. It's something not everyone talks about, but you need to prepare yourself to live with other people. And sometimes people are just going to suck when you live with them. And a lot of it too is just learning how to live on your own. And it's something that takes just time and getting used to. I know for me personally, I recently started cooking a lot more, it feels super rewarding. And there's a lot of stuff that you can do at home to better yourself now too, especially now that you're alone.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thank you, Abdul. Fallon, you're next.
I think like the biggest difference is just how you're graded. It's more, at least in my major, it's like very exam heavy. So just like time management is way more important than it was in high school, because you can kind of just get by with like doing your homework and like studying for colleges a lot. Other than that, I feel like I like it, like the schedule better because you have a lot more free time during the day between classes and you can pick, like, I hated waking up early for high school. And so that was really nice to not have to wake up as early. And yeah, I just like the freedom a lot.
Thank you, Fallon. And Katrina.
Yes. Can everyone hear me better now?
A lot better. That's perfect. Thank you.
Great. Awesome. Um, but yeah, basically going off what Fallon said, I really like the schedule with college a lot better. Like for me personally, like I made my schedule so that I don't have classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So on those days I can really like buckle down in the library or go to a coffee shop and really get all my work done then. So you also just have a lot more freedom, like, and there's always stuff going on if you want to go out during the weekdays or if you want to go to a meeting for a club, you can really just make your own schedule and find out what works for you.
All right, that's great. So I think the overall theme, a lot of it is freedom and flexibility, which is really interesting, and that's great. All right, so thank you for answering that question, for introducing yourselves, and for keeping it brief. I appreciate that as well. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to the floor for anybody who has questions. Again, you have the raise hand icon, you have the chat, or you can even just unmute, and that'll be an indication for us to know that you want to share something. So I'll give it a few seconds and whoever wants to jump in, not all at once. All right, there we go. So Renee, you have the first question. Go right ahead. And feel free to introduce yourself as well, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Renee Seeley. I also attend Florida Atlantic University with Jaylene. I'm here to support everyone. It's amazing to hear all of your wonderful accomplishments. But my question is, what skills have you gained from college that will prepare you for life after college and post-grad?
Jaylene, I'll let you go first on this one.
Thank you. Thank you, Renee, for your question. So what experiences has shaped me or helped me for post-grad, I think would be internships is probably the most important thing, and not internships in just one place. A scholarship that I have at my university requires us to do a nonprofit and a for-profit internship so that you can see what it's like both in the private and public sector. And I think it's a really good way to gain experience from doing internships in various areas. My first one was with Mayor Brook in local government, nonprofit, and then my second one was with a big company. So that was a really big difference in internships or in interning and what I learned. But I would definitely say doing as many internships, even if it's not for credit, because I know a lot of us want to do things that we're getting credit for. I think having internships just in general every semester, if you can, is a really great experience for life after school.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Jaylene. Does any of the other panelists want to share on that topic or question? Want to expand on that? Yeah, Jose, go right ahead.
I think one of the most important skills you'll ever get, in my honest opinion, is learning how to relax. And I really mean this, because I think you go into college, or at least I did, and you're running 100 miles an hour, and you realize really soon, if you don't turn the car off for a minute, I like analogies. If you don't turn the car off for a minute, you're going to burn out. And I think that's the great thing with college, is there's many resources to get help or to relax, to take a minute, and you have to take advantage of it, or you're just going to burn out because, after doing so many years of high school, you're like, I'll just continue. And it doesn't really work like that. You have to allow yourself to breathe. So I think taking a break and learning patience is a great skill.
Thank you, Jose. And Katrina?
Yes, I would recommend joining organizations or clubs within your major. When I first applied to the University of Florida, I was a journalism major. I knew I wanted to do something within the communications realm, but I didn't know what exactly. So I joined the agency at UF, which is a student-run public relations firm, and that's where I really found my passion for PR and just being that median between big companies and organizations and their publics. And I was able to work with really amazing companies such as Uber, Uber Eats, Microsoft, what else? We got the Bartram Apartments, Bliss Skincare, and just working with those people and networking with people in those companies is also very helpful. And now we've all built those connections and connected with those people and those organizations on LinkedIn, which will also be very helpful in the future once you graduate.
Oh, that's really impressive. Thank you, Katrina. And Fallon, go right ahead.
I think it's really helpful to just join a lot of clubs when you come here because like I didn't really have that opportunity. I'm sure a lot of other sophomores didn't either because everything was online, but it definitely makes it so much easier to meet people because like I feel like in high school you just become friends with people in your classes pretty easily, but like college is a lot different because you're just basically listening to lectures all class. So you have to put more effort into meeting people, but clubs make it a lot easier.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for answering that question. Renee, do you have a follow-up? Did that satisfy your query? Do you have any additional comment, or is that good?
Oh no, that was perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, you got it. Grace, I see you have a question. Go right ahead.
Yes. I was wondering like what drew each of you guys to your university that you're at now? Like what made you decide to go to that place?
Well, that's a great question. This time, Abdul, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I picked UCF honestly because it was really big and it was really close to a lot of big companies or big organizations that I really like to or that are very in touch with my field. So UCF is very close to the Space Coast, companies like NASA, and I think SpaceX now is operating there or was operating there for a little bit. But so just like internship opportunities and seeing how the what's it called? Like teams and stuff too, because UCF had one of the best programming teams in the nation over the last few years. And it's just, I like to pick things that really reflect back and give me something to strive for and a goal to look for that's already super high up.
Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing, Abdul. What about you, Fallon?
I just really felt like FSU was just super like welcoming and homey ever since I came and toured for the first time. I was like having a hard time deciding between FSU and UF, like down till the end. But I don't know, like originally I thought I was gonna want to go to UF if I got in, but I don't know. I just like a lot of people say it like they just feel like it's really welcoming and homey. And like we have Landis Green. And if you go out there on a night when it like a weeknight or anything, if it's like nice out, there's just so many people like sitting out there with their dogs and just playing frisbee and like throwing footballs. And it's just like really sweet. I don't know how else to explain it, but I just really like felt at home.
Oh, I love that. And speaking of UF, Katrina, what about you? Are you able to unmute? Okay. Oh, there you go. All right, we'll come back. How about that? So let's go with Jaylene, and then after that, Katrina. We'll try again.
So for me, I chose Florida Atlantic University because of scholarships. I think that if you don't have the money already to go to university, I think looking at scholarships and who offers the most amount of money for your bachelor's degree is very important, especially if you know that you want to go to secondary schooling. I think that it's important where you get your bachelor's degree, but if you intend to continue going on, I think getting your bachelor's degree at the lowest rate is probably the best option because I know student loans are very weary and not good thing to have all the time or anytime. So for me, choosing FAU was because of the scholarships and the monetary benefits that tied with accepting my offer.
Well, that's a great point to consider. Thank you, Jaylene. Katrina, you're able to make it now?
Yes, Isabel's AirPods are not great.
You're all
Um,
good. You're all good.
but I would say I recommend touring all the colleges that you are considering if you can, because it really is about like the vibe it gives off. Like I know that sounds like ridiculous, and people used to say that to me, like you have to tour and see how like you like it, and it's look at the people and look at what's going on campus and see if it like speaks to you. And I was always like, that's weird. Like I'm not gonna do that. But I actually ended up touring colleges with Fallon actually. And I remember we went to UF and I was like, I really like this place. Like this feels like home to me. I can see myself here. And then we went to FSU and then Fallon said the same thing about FSU. Whereas I was like, oh, FSU is really pretty, but like, I don't know if I can see myself there. So it's really about putting yourself like in the other students' shoes and being like, can I really visualize myself thriving here?
That's a great perspective to weigh out all the options to see what makes you feel at home. Fallon, I know you mentioned that as well. So thank you, Katrina. Jose, I don't think you've gotten to speak on this one yet.
No, so oh, this was probably the one question I was probably dreading because I think it is by far not the easiest. I think it's the hardest choice, really, where you're gonna go, obviously. My really two options came down to FSU and FIU, and I looked at a lot of different things, finances, like Jaylene said, I didn't want to go into debt, and FIU had great financial options for me. Not only that, I went to FSU. I've driven around it before, and it was nice. It was a very beautiful campus. It didn't hit me. I went to FIU. I liked it. I mean, to me, the look of the campus didn't make a difference. But for me, I remember making pros and cons lists and looking at the benefits and just thinking, I know where I could be happy. I know that this was the best decision for me because of family and personal and all of the things I'm involved with down here. And at the end of the day, when I did get there, I was like, it is a nice campus. I will be happy here. And I think one of the things you also need to do is make a pro and con list. Like I hate cold weather. I was not going to be happy in Tallahassee because it gets cold. And like even 40 degrees for 2 days, I'm like, I'm out of here. Like that's just not me. Like I'm 90-degree on December the 25th. So I think that's just each person is their own. For me, finances and just I love the community. I think that really boils it down.
No, that's a really holistic answer, and I think that's a great tip about the pros and cons list to weigh out what's important to you. And it seems like for each of you there was something that was important, especially. So that's a great tip. Thank you for sharing, and that's a great question, Grace. Does anybody else have a question that they want to share? Okay, there we go. Jacob, go right ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if any of you had any advice for students currently going through the college application process. So with writing essays or with financial stuff.
Okay, so Jacob's asking, what's your advice if you were to do it over again, or for anybody who's applying? So, oh, great, we see two hands. So, Jose, I'll start with you since you spoke last on the last one.
Thank you. So I would say right away, make sure you get your deadlines in. I know November 1st is the priority deadline for a bunch of them. Make sure you get those in. I will say this, have a bunch of people read your essays. Make sure that you check for grammar, run it through Grammarly, run it through everything. Have them judge it really harshly. Have teachers, have friends. And when you're looking at your essays, have it talk about you. They want it to be about you. I think that's one of the most important things. An essay can really throw someone over if their SAT score is low. Don't be afraid to apply to big schools because you don't have a high SAT score. I know people who didn't have the best SAT score, but their resumes and their essays really threw them over. Also, when you're applying for colleges, do not forget about outside scholarships. I think, especially when it ends in November, you should be applying for as many scholarships as you can, because that's what made me smile. It wasn't even the acceptances, it was how much money outside organizations were willing to hand me. So I think that's what you need to keep in mind as well, is how much money's out there and not a lot of people are taking advantage of it. So, and those essays that you wrote for college can literally be tweaked a little and turned in for scholarships. So don't forget about those.
That's really insightful advice. Thanks, Jose. Fallon, I see your hand up next.
So I'm like, I tell this to like everyone for my college advice, but I just think it's really important in your essay to, of course, make sure like the grammar's right and everything like that. But I think it's really important to show personality, because the people who are reading all these essays are just reading essays all day. And like, I know a lot of like the English teachers that you'll have read them and everything like that, like they'll want them to be really serious and like proper and everything. But I personally feel like, of course they have to be proper and all that and correct, but like you can still show personality like through little things, and like kind of like put little funny parts in it and things like that to just show that you're not like just another random essay they're reading, and just make them like make you stand out in their mind. And also I think it's really good to, in your essay, make it based around like a lesson you've learned. Like mine was literally about calling bingo at an old age home for like 3 years, and like it was literally my life. Like all my friends knew I was always calling bingo on like Sunday mornings. Like it was a personality trait of mine. And like it was funny, and like I made it funny. Like I set the scene like really dramatically, like about walking in to call bingo and like all the old people, and it was just like, and then at the end I tied it into like how it taught me a lesson, and like to, I don't even honestly remember what the lesson was, but yeah, those are my two like big things, because I think the essay can like they said, like really make or break it.
All right, thanks, Fallon. So a lot of emphasis on that essay, huh? All right, great. Abdul, I see your hand up.
Yep. So I think a little bit more on the financial aid, especially if you're a Florida student. Bright Futures is your best friend. I cannot tell you how much money they're saving me by just being there and me trying just a little bit in high school. And it really pays dividends. It keeps you like stress-free afterwards. But apply to as many colleges as you can. It's not about whether or not you think you'll get in. It's if you want to go to that school, or if you think you want to go to that school, or even considering it, just send an application. The worst they can do is say they don't want you, and you can sit there and not have the regret of, oh, but what if I applied to this school or that school? You can send them all out and you get on the essay. Just have fun with it, just be yourself, like be proper, but have fun with it. Talk about what you want to talk, or write about what you want to write about, and just really just kind of drive forward something about you, not just another, this is me, this is what I've done in high school, please accept me. And have everyone read it. Everybody who you think will give you good input, have them read it. It's really important.
Thank you, Abdul. I like seeing amongst the panelists the nodding of the heads and the agreeing amongst all of you. It's really cool to see that. Katrina, do you have anything to add on that question?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all the panelists really hit the nail on the head, but I would agree when it comes to writing the essay, make sure you're not just restating your resume, because they have your resume, they know what you've done in high school. They don't want to hear about it again because they've already read it. So I think like writing your essay should really focus on showing off who you are as a person. What are like your strongest attributes? For example, like I wrote mine about being like a swim instructor. And of course they knew that about me on my resume, but I really dove deep into what that entailed and how I behaved and how it changed me as a person. So I think really just diving into personal lessons, like Fallon said, is also a really great idea. And taking like minuscule things that you wouldn't really think like are crazy things you do in your day-to-day life, and talking about that experience and expanding on that and maybe making it a metaphor and really just showing your whole personality.
Oh, that's really great. Thank you, Katrina. And Jaylene, I don't think we got to you on this one yet.
I would definitely just echo what every one of the panelists said. They were spot on. Just being personal in your essay is really what's the most important. I know that you're trying to, well, think of it as trying to sell yourself and also trying to come up with an elevator pitch. I'm not sure if you guys know what that is, but that's basically just, you might get stuck in the elevator with the biggest executive of, or the dean or of admissions of your university, and you don't even know it. And so you want to be able to have a 30 to 60-second spiel of who you are and why you should be chosen, and just really be able to brand yourself. So I would say using the essay as a beginning branding moment of who you are and who you want to be in the future and what you want your colleges to know about you.
Okay, so a lot of emphasis on that essay, making sure that it's about you. So thank you to everyone for answering that question with a lot of great insight. So again, I'm going to open it up. Anybody who has any questions for our panelists, don't be shy. Okay, so I'm going to turn to one of the questions that we had from the registration. So all of you are clearly involved in clubs and organizations and companies in lots of different activities. So how are you able to effectively manage both your school and everything you have to do in that regard, and then everything else that you do? How do you manage your time and be able to do all these great things that each of you are doing? So I'll be completely honest, I don't know the order backwards, so I'm going to do my best. I think Abdul, you would go first in this regard. I could be wrong, but Abdul, you'll go first for this one.
So for me, it's just about keeping some sort of agenda or time frame and understanding what assignments will take you longer than others. So like I have math homework like every night that takes me maybe an hour. I don't really stress too much about when I'm going to do that. But for computer science, I usually take 2 to 3 days for an assignment. So I like to block out time for that. And so it's really just about finding out when the events are and making your schoolwork fit around that. And sometimes you have to miss an event because of a class, but it's better than falling behind in anything for me.
Oh, that's great advice. Thank you, Abdul. How about you, Jaylene?
Yes, I completely agree with Abdul. I think time management is really important when you come to school or when you come to college. I did a talk on time management skills and making that a required class for freshmen. I think that it's really important when you come to university. It's a completely different atmosphere than being in high school. No one's holding your hand. No one's, sending you messages. Make sure you turn this assignment in. You're at most universities, you're more of a number than a name, and that you have to realize that when you come to university. So I think that having a schedule is really important, and time management is also really important, because at the end of the day, it's only you that's in charge of your life and what you can do and how you can succeed. So if you choose to, push your homework back because you wanted to go to this event that's in government was having, it might be a really cool event, but I'm sure there'll be others. And at the end of the day, you're only hurting yourself when you miss out on really important school academic activities that you need to do. So I think that just always keeping in mind that at the end of the day, making these decisions that might hurt your schoolwork is always on you. So you always want to make sure you're holding yourself accountable when it comes to making these decisions regarding time.
Oh, that's great. That's really interesting about the talk, and I definitely agree that should be a class being taught to everybody, and definitely share that video clip or that talk with us somehow. We'd love to share it with everybody. So thank you, Jaylene. So I'm going to ask the panelists, keep it brief. We're coming to the end, and I want to get you to say, get a few more things for you to talk about before we end off. So let's go with, I think, Jose on this one.
I don't know. I lost count. I just wait for my name to get called. Brain fart. So the question was, how do you manage everything, right? Well, my first day of college, I had theater appreciation, I'll never forget. I walked in and the professor was talking and he goes, "Oh, you're all freshmen." He goes, "Welcome to college. You can no longer blame your parents for anything." And I'll never forget, because I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. But some advice is get to know your professor, because if something comes up, sometimes it'll be a little easier if you have an emergency or you're having hard times. They'll understand. Get to know their office hours. Always try and get ahead of the work, or at least stay on top of it. Never let it fall behind. Always schedule out time for yourself, because like I said earlier, if you don't take an hour, you will burn out. And I think the most important thing is realizing what's most important. Everything has levels of importance. If someone who cares more about their grades, you're going to put grades first and then clubs last, and some things will sacrifice, but you just have to realize what you're willing to give and what you're willing to take. And once you realize that, everything else will fall into place. But never be afraid to ask for help, and always stay on top of it and take accountability. And I think everybody will be okay.
Really well said, Jose. Thank you. Fallon and then Katrina.
So my number one piece of advice that I did for the first time this semester was like, when you get all your syllabi, I don't know, in the beginning of the semester, just go through in like Google Calendar or whatever you use. I like Google Calendar, but put like every due date of everything. And like, if you have an exam, put like 2 weeks ahead or 1 week, whatever, like study for this exam. Just like, I know like a lot of times, not a lot, but like every so often, like last semester or last year, I would miss things, and it was like easy points, and you really need those easy points because like the harder points are obviously harder to get. So yeah, it's just really important not to miss the little easy things that like could just slip your mind. So that's my number. Also, like join clubs. Don't just think like school's gonna take up all your time. Like you'll find time for school. It's also important to do things you enjoy.
Really well said. Thank you, Fallon. And Katrina.
I think it's really important to prioritize your social life just as much as your academics. I know in high school, I really burned myself out, like trying to get into UF. UF was my dream school. I was working so hard, but once I graduated high school, I realized like, wow, I really didn't do a lot except join a bunch of organizations, try to buff up my resume and try to get the best grades possible. So once I got to UF, I really prioritized being social and like actually going out and not spending 4 hours studying for a test that I could be spending like 2 hours studying for and getting the same grade. So because college is about the people, you don't want to graduate college and then realize, oh wait, I didn't do anything but stay in the library the whole time. So what I would recommend is make like studying social. Like I love studying at coffee shops because it's a lot more enjoyable for me. Or sometimes I'll go with a friend to the library, or I know a few days ago, one of my friends and I like stayed at the library until like 2 a.m. and doing work. And yeah, we were doing work, but it was also really fun and we made amazing memories. So I think there's ways you can work really hard on your studies while also being social. It's just about finding that balance.
Thank you, Katrina. And thank you to all the panelists for answering a lot of the questions that we had. We covered a lot of important issues. But I just want to add that if any of you would feel comfortable in the chat or even after when we give closing remarks to share contact information or anything like that in the chat for anybody who has additional questions or further questions, that would be really wonderful and we'd really appreciate that. What I'm going to do now is ask each of you to very, very, very briefly to pick one thing, only one thing that you love most about your school right now. Only one thing. So I'm going to start with Katrina on this one.
I'd say right now, my favorite thing is the school spirit because our football team is doing really well, and just the tailgates and the parties every weekend and everyone coming together on game day is really awesome. Just seeing that unity on campus.
Oh, that's great. Go Gators, right? Fallon.
I think my favorite thing is the scenery and like combined with the weather. It's just really, it feels like you're like not in Florida anymore. It's just really homey. And I just walk around campus and I'm like, I can't believe this is real.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Fallon. Abdul.
I personally just love being on my own schedule and being able to just make everything work. And it's super fun and it makes it really easy to do everything I want to do.
That's great. Thank you, Abdul. And Jaylene.
For me, I would say location, just being super close to the beach is also really nice and relaxing when you want to step away from academia.
Oh, that's fun. Thank you, Jaylene. And Jose.
People, I think the friends you make are sometimes the most important. And I think like the friends I've been able to make, and I know some of you, the friends you've been able to make on campus just really change you and just allow you to have a good time. So I think the friends you make are the most important.
I love it. And I see Katrina put the party reaction to that one. Love it. Great. All right. So now I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to give some closing remarks, advice to everyone on the call, everyone who's watching through the stream or will watch later on, even a last minute recruiting pitch. Maybe if you want some more students to look into your school, the school that you attend, and anything else that you feel might fit or that is important to share. So this time again, I do remember the backwards order. So Jose, you're up first.
Yeah, so really what I want to say is when you're making this decision, don't stress it. You're gonna end up where you're supposed to be. And I know that sounds so cryptic, but that's what they told me, and I really believe it. It's okay to worry and maybe sometimes have some doubt, but know you're making the right decision and look at it holistically. Don't just take one thing. But yeah, and if you want to come to FIU, we got great people. We're in Miami, the greatest city in the world. I'll never shy away from that one. But it was really a pleasure being here and talking to all of you. Go Panthers.
Thank you so much, Jose. I really appreciate you coming on, my friend. Jaylene, you're up next.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you everyone for coming. I think panels like this are really important, especially if you're a prospective student looking to go to university after high school. I would say that come choose FAU. I know most of you are already probably from Coral Springs or the Broward County area, so you might be looking to venture out into a different state or a different city, but staying close to home sometimes is really nice and beneficial just to have your family around. And also just for the monetary reasons as well. I think FAU offers a lot of scholarships, and FAU has a lot to offer, as far as school spirit goes and academia. Our football team is on the rise. We've got a new coach. Our school spirit is really on the rise, and I think our academia is right behind it. So choose FAU and go Owls.
Oh, I love it. I love how everyone's incorporating their school mascots. That's really fun. All right. Thank you, Jaylene. And thank you for always supporting us in this program and everything else as well. Next, Abdul from you with UCF. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Honestly, I think a lot of almost all the colleges are good. You just have to make it work for you and just have fun with it. Don't get too stuck on doing one thing that's super frustrating. Take breaks, everything. But just keep your head in the game sometimes and learn when to just step back, take a break, and come back at it another time. Don't forget, go Knights, charge on.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Abdul. And thanks so much for coming on and sharing your insight. Really, really appreciate it. All right, Fallon, you're up next.
So I feel like I've said a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna show a picture of just some of my favorite memories at FSU, because obviously I think it's pretty. But how I said, the sunsets here are so beautiful. And then also we went on a really cool hike to Georgia through Charge. It's cool that it's close to Georgia. And there's cute nurseries with lots of plants. And also all the fountains are certified swimming pools. So that's why I'm swimming in a fountain. And people do that just randomly, which is really fun. So yeah, that's basically it.
Oh, that's really fun. Thank you for showing all those pictures and for coming on and sharing your insight and for always supporting us. Really appreciate it, Fallon. And that was really cool. I love that. Great. All right. Last but definitely not least, Katrina from UF. You're gonna close it out for us. No pressure.
All right. Oh, no pressure. But I would say you're meant to be where you're supposed to be. If you end up at a college that happens to be your second choice or something, just make the best of the situation and everything's gonna work itself out. At the end of the day, all these schools that everyone's from, they're all amazing campuses. We're all gonna get amazing degrees and go off to do great things. But if you're stuck choosing between a few, I would say Go Gators and choose UF.
Thank you so much, Katrina, and thank you so much to all the panelists. Also, I know I'm seeing from the chat updates that a lot of you have put in your information. Really appreciate that. That's going to be really helpful for I'm sure a lot of people who are on the call and even beyond who want to get in touch and see how you can provide them even more insight. I think we covered a lot of great topics and got to hear a lot of great perspectives. So again, really deeply appreciate each one of you for coming on. Wishing you always all the best in the endeavors that you have ahead. All of you are really, qualified and unique in your experiences and always strive for the best. So, continue to do that. And thank you for coming on and inspiring us today. Miriam, would you be able to direct us in a screenshot picture? We like to at the end take a group kind of Zoom selfie of sorts. And I hope you had as much fun as I did on today's call. So Miriam?
Yeah, of course. It's unfortunate that my camera isn't working today, but I will
Don't worry.
direct you all. So I'm gonna count from 3 and I will take the picture. So 1, 2, 3. Okay.
All right. Worked. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Of course, stay involved with the Youth Innovation Table. We're on all the social media platforms, so make sure to follow, help us continue to grow our community. Jacob mentioned at the beginning, we have scholarships and sponsorship opportunities. So if your parents or someone you know might be interested in supporting our students and even get to target a younger demographic through their business, that would be great. And any other way that you can stay involved through our group chat, through our email lists and everything else. And other than that, am I forgetting anything? Team, Grace, Miriam, Isabel, we have covered everything. Julianne? All right.
Yeah, thank
Oh, I
you.
did forget something. And thank you to our amazing team. That I did forget. All right, everybody. Have a great night and thank you so much for joining on.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.